In 1991, the cinematic landscape changed forever.
Sort of.
With the greatest action movie ever made, starring the biggest movie star in Hollywood at the time, Sylvester Stallone. His Bodyguard. Samurai Cop is a 1991 action film that is so bad, it's incredible to think how something like this can ever be made. And that's why it's amazing. It's the type of film that feels like it was made by a 14-year-old who's just seen boobs for the first time. Not only that, but it's shot by what appears to be someone who's never used the camera before in their lives. Throughout its entire runtime, the viewer is always asking two questions. Number one, how did this even get made? And number two, who is this even for? I've watched this film hundreds of times, and at this point, I'm not sure if I love it because of how fundamentally terrible it is, or I hate it because how something like this can even exist in the world of film, which is why I love it. It's complicated. So in this video, I'm going to try to explain the plot as concisely as I can. Mind you that sometimes it might seem that I'm either rushing or jumping ahead. That's because the film does this all the time. But by the end, you'll know what truly makes this film a masterclass in the worst filmmaking of all time, and whether or not Samurai Cop is worth watching. We begin with Okamura explaining to Yamashita,
"We are not an established gang yet."
they want their gang, the Katana, to become friends with the other gangs. The boss of the Katana, Fujiyama. No, I didn't stutter. That's his actual name.
Are you Fujiyama?
Yeah, I'll check in that.
The Katana then meet up with a rival gang and kills them all.
You did it.
The job's done.
And it seems like the Katana are going to run the drug trade of LA. But then we get introduced to our heroes, Frank and Joe, aka Samurai. They hop in their dirty, unwashed car, and it's at this point I do have to point out that the film didn't have the budget to rent cars or wardrobe, so the actors use their own cars and their own clothes. Some might argue that that's lazy filmmaking, but I disagree. I think it adds to the emotion. Joe gets word of the gang fight, and they follow a van that's owned by the Katana gang that's allegedly transporting cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine.
While a police helicopter being guided by a cop named Peggy. Now, it should not be overstated that Joe and Peggy get along very well.
Now you just keep it warm.
It's warm and ready.
The wing, I forgot the wing. It's at this juncture I should tell you that throughout this film, any woman that's in Joe's general vicinity automatically wants to have sex with him.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Elkie.
It's important for later. Joe, Frank, and Peggy chase down the van, where one guy gets run over, one gets shot, and the van explodes by slowly running into dirt. The driver gets burned so badly, he changes ethnicity. And after feeling the post-traumatic stress and trauma of killing two people and burning one alive, we then cut straight away to Joe and Peggy having sex. Yamashita reveals Joe's identity,
His real name is Joe Marshall.
and Fujiyama calls for the burn man to have his head cut off.
I want his head on this piano.
I will bring you his head and I will place it on your piano.
Frank and Joe head to the hospital to interrogate the burn victim.
Say goodbye.
A nurse wants to have sex with Joe,
Would you like to sex me?
but thinks his doctor cut off too much of his penis in the circumcision. This is actual real dialogue in the film.
Well, your doctor must have cut a big portion of it off.
Thanks, nurse.
I also think that this film believes that circumcision means getting part of your penis cut off, because when Frank asks Joe,
Have you been circumcised?
he appears to be offended by it.
Shut up.
The female henchwoman disguised as a cleaner enters the room, and Yamashita, disguised as a rubbish bin, cuts off the burn guy's head, obeying the code of silence, meaning a gang member will die before he reveals information to the police. Captain Roma gets mad at Joe and Frank for all the people that they've been killing.
This man has been here 1 week and I almost lost my job. If he's here one more week, I might will end up in jail and die of a heart attack, and I don't like that.
Hey, I've been here 1 week.
As a matter of fact, he gets so mad that he wants Joe fired, but Frank kisses him, so he stays.
Mwah! You son of a bitch! Come back here, you motherfucker!
I think he liked it. We learn what katana means.
It means Japanese sword. Thanks.
Joe Marshall.
Joe and Frank go to the restaurant where the katana hangs out, and we get into a war of words between them.
I'm a cop.
But then Joe wants to steal Fujiyama's girl. Spoiler alert, he does. Once they leave, Yamashita orders his henchmen to kill Frank and Joe, but they fail. Joe chops a guy's arm off with a samurai sword. After all, he is. Yamashita kills the rest of the henchmen himself, adhering to the code of silence. We then go from Joe visiting Jennifer to ask her out on a date immediately to Joe being confronted by henchmen in a nightclub, where they're ordered to break his legs.
Right now, I got orders to break both your legs.
This scene comes a few minutes just before Katana order for Joe's legs to be broken, so this might be an error in the cutting room, but at this point there's been so many flaws in logic and pacing in the film, it's too hard to tell, so we're just going to let this slide for now. Joe captures a henchman and he asks for Okamura's address. We immediately arrive at his house where Joe and Frank find Okamura having sex.
You gotta be fucking kidding me, don't you?
Joe looks like he's finally got his man, but Okamura escapes because they can't get in the door. Luckily, Joe catches up to Okamura and they face off. Okamura seemingly has the upper hand and at one point visibly removes Joe's wig. Joe manages to fight back by punching Okamura directly into his penis, and Frank arrests him. But then Okamura escapes Frank's arrest to be shot by Joe. The Katana meet up to discuss the cops that are after them alongside a bodyguard with the world's smallest feet. You just have to see it. It's so weird and jarring. Fujiyama orders for Joe and Frank's legs to be broken, and now you can see what I mean when they should have put this in earlier. Doesn't matter. Frank's in a film room. Why? We don't know. We get some of the greatest dubbing in cinema history.
We could shoot this in a mafia boss's house.
Where did the tall guy with the ponytail go? Well, just a little business with him.
Absolute magic. Even more henchmen come after Samurai, and it looks like the end for our hero. But he escapes. We then immediately cut to the villain, Yamashita, having sex.
Fuck off! Hey!
Joe then takes Jennifer to his house, and when Fujiyama finds out about this, he orders for Samurai to be killed. The Katana go to each of the cops' house to ask where Joe lives. They stab one cop and his wife. The Katana then catches Frank coming out of the shower and threaten to cut off his penis. Luckily, he fends off the henchman and immediately calls Joe to warn him about the Katana. After a really disturbing scene where the Katana hold the officer Peggy down and burn her with oil, we immediately see Joe wishing Jennifer a happy birthday in his underwear.
Happy birthday, dear Jennifer.
And if you have to ask what happens next, well, of course, they have sex.
He's done it again! That is a fact! Fucking little bastard!
Meanwhile, Frank has been trying to call the house the whole time. Frank finally gets a hold of Joe to warn him about the Katana coming for him right as they enter his house. Luckily, Joe and Jennifer escape, but while Jennifer and her mum were at work, unarmed and without protection, and the assumption that Fujiyama is somehow going to magically forget that Joe's been sleeping with her, he kidnaps Jennifer. Frank and Joe regroup in Captain Romer's office, and he orders for Frank and Joe to go and murder the whole Katana gang and then quit the police force. All three of them agree to this perfectly thought out plan.
I want you to find that motherfucking Japanese gangster. I want you to kill him, and I want you to kill every one of his men. I want you to turn his house into a bloodbath. Don't leave anybody alive.
They manage to take down all the henchmen of the Katana and kill the boss, Fujiyama. But there's one more guy they gotta knock off before it's all over, Yamashita. Frank and Joe find out where he's hiding and kill all of his henchmen before Joe and Yamashita have one final face-off. After getting the upper hand of Yamashita, Samurai is about to cut his head off, just like the old days in Japan, I guess. But right before he can lash down his sword, Frank reminds Joe that he's a cop and he shouldn't murder him, even though we have seen him the entire duration of the film, him senselessly murdering henchmen, but because they're good guys, it's all fine. They're about to let Yamashita go, but before they do, he stabs himself, adhering to the code of silence. We then cut to Joe and Jennifer on the beach, and Joe and Jennifer celebrate the only way he knows how, by having sex. Truly a cinematic masterpiece. Now that you know the film, there are a lot of things we need to talk about. There are some performances in this movie that truly makes this film once in a lifetime. I have a special mention and a place in my heart for Fujiyama, who plays the main villain, looking like the most 1990s AFL full forward of all villains. Fujiyama looks like if Freddie Mercury had a three-way with Dipper Domenico and Yoko Ono. In the first scene, he has this where do my eyes look about him, which implies to me that this is the first time he's ever been on camera. He also has some of the best lines in the film.
This is America, land of freedom and law. I want his head on this piano to kill you and my other men, to put handcuffs on me and put me in the gas chamber.
Now, I'm not sure if he's ever been convicted of a felony before, but I feel like that they removed gas chambers a while back. I don't know, but that's not our best. Our main character, Joe, truly has the most seductive looking flirt I've ever seen.
Yeah, you just keep it warm.
It's warm and ready.
So, I'm lying there in bed with probably the most beautiful woman I've ever met in my life.
Hey, What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding. You know you're number one.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Elkie.
Would you like to fuck me?
Bingo. By the way, what's an all-American girl like you doing with a geek like this? See you around.
For the majority of this film, the actors are either overacting or underacting. There's literally no in between.
Hey, counselor. We'll see you in court.
I also like to shout out my favorite 4 smaller parts in this film. First one is for the nurse who thinks that circumcision means that cutting off part of your penis.
Well, your doctor must have cut a big portion of it off.
Special mention to Frank's reaction to every line during that scene. There's this waiter at the restaurant who seemingly has been given clear instructions to act, let's just say, flamboyant.
Where's her father?
Bang!
Killed? Who shot him?
He!
Who?
Him!
Who's him?
Himself.
I like cops. My cousin's a cop. Alfonso Rafael Federico Sebastian. This is my first name. Bye-bye. I'll tell my cousin I know you.
Completely out of place, but hilarious. Thirdly, the cop with the perm in the hospital.
Not much, sir. There's a nurse in there giving him an injection. He's burned pretty bad.
Oh my God. Call security.
The definition of an NPC interaction. He's my favorite character. And my 4th favorite is Captain Roma, whose default setting is angry all the time.
God damn it, get the hell out of my office. Get out of here. I feel like somebody stuck a big club up my ass. And it hurts.
There's a particular line with another detective in one of the openings to his scene.
Captain, what do you want me to do about the case?
You're the officer in charge of the case. Go do it.
And then also he says to Fujiyama's lawyer, who has a job.
You motherfucker, I'll see you in hell. Leave me alone. Get a job.
He's the GOAT. Apart from the aforementioned, there are some scenes that are worth their weight in gold. The first time we're introduced to Joe, he says this.
Are you sure this is a good bust?
Yeah, cocaine.
They also needed a shot of the 2 guys in the opening car chase scene, so they just threw the most nothing dialogue in there.
They'll come with the boat. Yeah.
During the car chase, Joe runs over one of the henchmen, even though he appears to be both going quite slow and has the entire road to move out the way. Truly spectacular. When Yamashita tries to escape hospital, he's confronted by men who all say the same.
Hey, wait a minute. I want to talk to you.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute, doctor. I'd like to talk to you.
Hey, wait a minute. Stop.
Plus, the fight scenes.
What are you gonna do? Fight this guy barehanded?
Stay back. This guy's mine.
Incredible. Some of the bits you just can't write.
You were in church too?
Yeah, I was in there preaching. Didn't you see me?
No, you weren't. Stop kidding me.
Nah, I'm just kidding. This chicken, I have a neighbor next door, and she has farm animals. And what I did was I jumped the fence, and stole one of her chickens, and then killed it.
Great.
Because I really wanted to impress you.
Is this your house?
Yeah, I own it. Month to month.
Just say you rent, dude. Plus, there's a scene where 2 henchmen capture Frank, and because they didn't have any other angles to play with and needed to cut the scene, they played a frame from before. Who's going to notice at this point? The film tells a total of 3 jokes. One of them is this one.
Why did you come under?
I'm an undercover cop.
In the final sword fight, we get a shot of both Joe and Yamashita, and they're posing with their swords, except in the frame, they're in the exact same position as each other when they cut to each other. Such a brave yet innovative choice. Also, the longer the film goes, the more obvious the camera operators and directors appear to have the "fuck it, we'll do it live." That was just their philosophy this whole time. I've shown it in the scenes before, but because the director either couldn't be bothered to bring back the actors from the movies to do voiceovers or couldn't afford them, he instead chose to do most of the voiceovers himself.
Who could shoot this in a mafia boss's house?
Well, just a little business with him.
That way. Cops are here. You, get him off my back.
The director, Amir Shervin, is truly the Stanley Kubrick of his time, if Stanley Kubrick directed the worst film of all time. I did partially touch on before that this film looks like it was shot by someone holding a camera for the very first time. I mean, between the violent shaking of some shots to the bizarre choice to have every close-up of a person to have about a meter of clearance above their head, to some shots being clearly filmed at 2 different times. In a whole chunk of scenes, there's white balancing issues. I mean, it's truly unbelievable how this movie probably went through multiple people, and all of them which said, well, I don't see a problem here. This looks fine to me somehow. Also because they couldn't afford a lighting team. The entire film is shot during the day, which is why we often get bizarre and jarring jumps in time, and the pacing is completely out of sorts.
All right, I need his address. How do we know that this is the right house?
This film seems like it got filmed both in one day and in 1 year at the same time. After shooting was finished, our main character Joe, he cut his hair, but then realizing that half the scenes needed reshoots, they bought the world's greatest wig. Plus they kept in footage of his wig being pulled off. Dude, this film is the fucking best. There's also a particular scene where Peggy, the cop in the helicopter whose only other motivation in this film is to have sex with literally every man she comes into contact to.
Hey, preacher.
Yeah?
You and I got nothing to do. Let's fuck.
Shut up.
This film would not be a good one to watch with your mum or your girlfriend, really in the presence of anyone else. If you thought this film stops at misogyny, then you're wrong. It also sprinkles in a bit of casual racism. I mean, just minutes after we learn that Joe, the samurai cop, was trained by samurai in Japan and speaks fluent Japanese, we get him butchering the Japanese language.
He's, what's his name? Omaha, Yamaha, whatever his name is, right?
He speaks fluent Japanese.
We then get Frank and Joe talking about how Chief Roma is gonna burn his ass.
Yeah, he's gonna burn it. Charcoal black.
It is black.
Right on.
Look, that's a weird thing to say to someone, but play on. But later they make the same joke, and you can almost see that Frank appears visibly uncomfortable with Joe saying that joke again.
You burn my ass.
You don't have to worry about that. It's already...
Yeah, I know. It's already black, huh?
The scene where the katana henchmen invade Frank's place and apparently take his towel off to reveal he's naked. One of the henchmen says,
Or I can relieve you of this gift. This black gift.
I mean, you could have left it at this gift. I hate that I love this film. But it's baffling to me how this was shot, written, directed, and edited, most likely by multiple people, and all of them were like, yeah, I guess so. I also love that Matt Hannon, our samurai, who's the bodyguard for Sylvester Stallone at the time, probably saw one Stallone film and thought, oh, I mean, fuck it, how hard could it be? Turns out, harder than he thought. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, should you watch Samurai Cop? Yes. Watch it once by yourself and never mention it to anyone ever again. I mean, it's the perfect example of how to fuck everything up in cinema, except this guy.
Not much, sir.
He deserves an Oscar. If you ever feel down, watch this film and just know that no matter how bad you might think it gets in your life, you will never make something as disastrous as Samurai Cop. It's like a car crash, except everyone in the car is wearing a fake store-bought wig, all the passengers are voiced over by the same person who also designed the car, and all the female passengers want to have sex with the driver. It's a film so terrible, it's amazing, and that's why I secretly love it. Do yourself a favor or a disservice, and I would suggest you watch it yourself. Anyway, that's all I got. Ciao.
Bye-bye.